Hello everybody, and welcome to Neverwinter Nights, Shadows of Undrentide, and Hordes of the Underdark. The reason I say both of them is because they are connected in terms of the story, so I will be playing one after the other with the same character throughout. Fair warning before I continue any further, this episode will not contain any gameplay. Instead, this episode will contain basic information, ground rules, and character creation. Firstly, this game assumes that you, as a viewer or player, have knowledge and understanding of the Neverwinter Nights gameplay and controls. As such, there is no tutorial. However, if you haven't played the game before, or if you don't know the mechanics, then I encourage you to click here. It will take you to my previous Neverwinter Nights series. In such, I go through several detailed tutorials of the game. If you already know about the game, or simply don't care, and stick around. With the basic information out of the way, it is now time for my ground rules. These rules are ones that I choose to follow, in the hopes of making the game a bit more fun, challenging, and interesting for both you and I. In order to understand these rules, let's take a look at the inventory screen here. When you're inside the game, your character can hold items of various types in these 6 inventory tabs. That, to me, seems like far too much room. After all, you're just a person, not a wagon. So I've decided to limit myself to only using a single inventory tab, namely the first one. My goal with this is to make every item a bit more valuable. It'll force me to manage what I can and can't keep. The next rule is about potions in the game. Currently, you can stack various potions together and hold hundreds of them. Now, even if we're talking about relatively small vials, it is still absurd to consider holding hundreds of them. So I will be limiting myself to having only 4 maximum. My next rule is about healer's kits. For the same reason as potions, I will be limiting myself to only being able to carry 2 of them. I've also considered limiting how much gold I could or couldn't carry, but seeing as how a large portion of the items in the game are very expensive, I decided to forego limiting the currency. And lastly, before creating our character, I'd like to point out one thing. I am a role player, and as such, I will be making mistakes and decisions based on what I think my character would be like. Now, what should our character be? Should he be a rage-fueled barbarian, charging the front lines in search of blood and glory? Should he be a careful and tactical mage, who can rend enemies to ribbons with powerful arcane attacks? Should he be a sly and agile archer, pinning legions down with volleys of well-aimed arrows? Let's find out. So the first choice here is gender. I'll be a male. Males of the realms can aspire to any fields of activity, from scholarly pursuits to the arts of war. I'll be a human. Humans are the most adaptable of the common races. Short generations and a penchant for migration and conquest mean that they are very physically diverse as well. Skin shades range from nearly black to very pale, hair from black to blonde, and facial hair from sparse to thick. Humans are often unorthodox in their dress, sporting unusual hairstyles, fanciful clothes, tattoos, and the like. Favorite class is any. When determining whether a multi-class human suffers an XP penalty, his highest level class does not count. Humans are quick to master, meaning they gain 1 extra feat at first level. They are also skilled, and as such gain 4 extra skill points at first level, plus 1 additional skill point at each following level. Portrait here is purely cosmetic. I choose this one. Now for class. There's a long list of classes, some we can be right away and others that are grayed out. These are prestige classes, and these have requirements that you need to fulfill before you can take them. So if I want to be, say, a shifter, I would need the alertness and wild shape feats, as well as level 3 spellcasting or higher. Others, such as the Shadow Dancer, require lots of skills as well as feats. These are your more advanced and specific classes. But for now, we have to choose a general class. I'll be a cleric. Clerics act as intermediaries between the earthly and divine, or infernal, worlds. A good cleric helps those in need, while an evil cleric seeks to spread his patron's vision of evil across the world. All clerics can heal wounds and bring people back from the brink of death, and powerful clerics can even raise the dead. Likewise, all clerics have authority over undead creatures, and they can turn away or even destroy these creatures. Clerics are trained in the use of simple weapons, and can use all forms of armor and shields without penalty, since armor does not interfere with the casting of divine spells. In addition to his normal complement of spells, every cleric chooses to focus on 2 of his deity's domains. These domains grant the cleric special powers and give him access to spells that he might otherwise never learn. Warning: to cast a spell, a cleric must have a wisdom score of 10 plus that spell's level. For example, to cast a 2nd level spell, a cleric must have a wisdom of 12, 10 plus 2. Hit die is D8. They are proficient with all simple weapons, armors, and shields. They gain 2 skill points plus their intelligence modifier. This is multiplied by 4 at 1st level, and their spellcasting is divinely based. For my alignment, I'll be true neutral, which is titled as Undecided. A true neutral character doesn't feel strongly one way or the other about good versus evil, or law versus chaos. She thinks good is better than evil. After all, she'd rather have good neighbors and rulers than evil ones. But she's not personally committed to upholding good in any abstract or universal way. A wizard who devotes herself to her art and is bored by the semantics of moral debate is true neutral. Some true neutral characters, however, commit themselves philosophically to neutrality. They see good, evil, law, and chaos as dangerous extremes. They advocate neutrality as the most balanced road in the long run. Neutral means that you act naturally, without prejudice or compulsion. The reason I'm choosing true neutral is because I want the game to judge me and tell me what my alignment is. So I will start as a blank canvas, true neutral, and let my actions decide what alignment I end up becoming. Maybe I'll be chaotic evil and be an unstoppable rampaging monster. Maybe I'll be lawful neutral. Who knows? Abilities. Strength measures the muscle and physical power of your character. This ability is especially important for fighters, barbarians, paladins, rangers, and monks, because it helps them prevail in combat. This will be a 16 for me. Dexterity measures agility, reflexes, and balance. This ability is most important for rogues, but is also for characters who typically wear light, medium, or no armor at all, or for people who want to become a skilled archer. 10 for me. Constitution represents the health and stamina of your character. High Constitution increases the number of hit points a character has, and this makes it important for everyone, but especially so for fighters. This will be a 12 for me. Wisdom describes a character's willpower, common sense, perception, and intuition, whereas intelligence represents the ability to analyze information. An absent-minded professor has low wisdom and high intelligence. A simpleton with low intelligence might nevertheless be very perceptive, thus having high wisdom. Wisdom is important for clerics and druids, affecting the strength and number of their spells. So this will be a 14 for me. Warning: an intelligence lower than 9 means that your character is unable to speak properly. Intelligence determines how well your character learns and reasons. Intelligence is important for wizards because it affects how many spells they can cast, how hard their spells are to hit, and how powerful their spells can be. It is also important for any character who wants to have a strong assortment of skills. 14 for me. Charisma measures a character's force of personality, persuasiveness, ability to lead, and physical attractiveness. It represents actual personal strength, not merely how one is perceived in a social setting. This will be a 10 for me. Now for the packages. Now these are preset configurations of a character, so you can just hop into the game. I, however, want to make my own, so I will configure package. I have 20 skill points at the moment, and I will put 4 into craft armor. The character knows how to create most types of armor, shields, and helmets from different materials. Alrighty. I also put 4 into craft weapon. The character knows how to create most types of weapons and ammunition from different materials. Heal. With this skill, the character can use a healing kit to cure wounds and heal poisons and diseases. I also want Parry. Parry allows the character to block incoming attacks and make spectacular counterattacks. And finally, Tumble. The character with high tumble is able to roll away from attacks during combat, positioning themselves safely at all times. Anytime the character might receive an attack of opportunity from moving past enemies, they will automatically attempt a tumble check against a DC of 15. If successful, the attack is avoided. Also note that for every 5 ranks in this skill, you gain a +1 bonus to your armor class. Now for feats. As you can see, we have the ones we are granted with, like armor proficiencies as well as simple weapons. I, however, want martial weapons, which allows me to use a larger list of weapons, including battle axe, great sword, halberd, hand axe, heavy flail, light hammer, longbow, longsword, rapier, scimitar, short sword, short bow, throwing axe, trident, and warhammer. For my next feat, and my final one for first level, what would be good? I think bullheaded makes a bit of sense. Character gains a +2 bonus on resisting taunts and a +1 bonus to will saving throws. I like that. A little bit of an aggressive, bullheaded character. Now for the domains. It was mentioned earlier that these domains are normally based off of your deity. So for my 2 domains, I want travel and strength. Clerics who take the travel domain gain access to an improved list of bonus spells. I can gain Entangle, Web, Freedom of Movement, Slow, and Haste. Clerics who take the strength domain are able to boost their strength with Divine Energy and gain more access to spells that make them stronger and resilient. So I gain the Divine Power and Stone Skin spells. I also gained a very special ability called Divine Strength. The cleric gains a bonus to strength equal to 2 + 1 per 3 class levels. This effect has a duration of 5 rounds plus the cleric's charisma modifier. And now for customization. This is likewise purely cosmetic. I like... what do I want? I like this one. We'll give him kind of blonde hair. It's a little too... There we go, perfect. A bit more of a tan. And for his clothing, I think we'll have very basic clothes for what I have in mind of his story. This, of course, is probably the exact opposite of basic. That's a little too monastic. A little too fancy. He's not a gladiator. I think this works. Just very typical commoner's clothes, if you will.
Get on them! Attack, I say!
And now for the voice.
By my direction, attack!
This is not going well. Time to leave.
Here! Fight me! Come on!
You act as my guard. Watch my back.
I like this one. And the character will be Rayle. Entair. Age of 26. What about his deity and his backstory? Give me a moment, would you? Rayle was a blacksmith working in Hilltop alongside Fiona in her shop. He had respectable lodgings, warm food, and a steady income. But when a wise old dwarf by the name of Drogon opened his doors and claimed to train would-be adventurers, the thrill of exploration caught Rayle, and he quickly headed to his doorstep, thinking his skills as a smith, kind-hearted nature, and all of his possessions to Drogon, in hopes of becoming something more. His deity is Shondakul. Curious about him? Don't worry, you'll learn. And I think, let's head into the game, shall we?
Hilltop, one of many small villages that dot the most remote regions of the northern wildlands, known as the Silver Marches. Few would choose so cold and inhospitable a land to make their home. Only those seeking a new life, or to escape their past. It is in Hilltop that your mentor, Master Drogon, chose to settle after a lifetime of adventure. Here, he would pass on his knowledge to you, and a select few others with promise. It is here that evil comes in the shadows, and behind it, a sinister purpose that will see your own promise either realized in full or extinguished forever.